got a big crack in it.
The city hall to big giant one.
I think the one at the fire station up on the shelf. I figured.
You're online and ready to go.
We're online, we are unmuted, and Sarah, hand it over to you to begin.
Okay, Commissioners, if we can make sure that we have our microphones on,
Maybe.
and if we could please stand for the pledge of allegiance. Yeah, would you mind leading?
Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone.
I'll start the roll call, just state your name, so that it can be on tape. Fred Cuthbertson, present.
And Frederick Smith.
Warren Hanson, President.
Tim Eastridge here.
And John Graves Dominus is, let the city know that we will not be in attendance physically tonight. So, just so you'll know, and I'm sure you're aware, but we're down to 5 members. We'd like to have 7. So if anybody is interested.
Well, this young man here has gone ahead and applied.
Yay!
Let's don't offend him to hopefully.
Best behavior tonight, okay?
Get our best behavior.
Ken, I'm looking up.
Okay, let's begin tonight, with public comment, and I don't know if we have, anybody online that would like to make a public comment? Or if anybody in the audience would like to make a public comment, and if you do, if you could, keep it to 3 minutes or so, and any public comments? I don't think we have any tonight. Okay. Well, sir, I think we should go directly into the public hearing, if that's okay with you, TJ, unless you have any other business do you think we should address prior to starting the?
No, that sounds great, sir. We'll go ahead. Let me pull up the agenda and get us kicked off. So, our first agenda item, and I'll hand this back. Partition, tentative plat 555 on Depot Street. And so, this is where we'll enter into a public hearing, and that is the first item on the agenda.
Thank you, sir. So we'll now move to the public hearing portion of the meeting. Tonight's hearing is a quasi judicial land use hearing. The planning commission will consider the following applications. Number one, P-2025-08, a tentative partition plat submitted by DMLC LLC. To begin, I'll read the hearing procedures. The order of the hearing will be as follows. First, we will have staff report. Then we will have the applicant presentation. Then we'll have public testimony. And in that public testimony, you will have first those in favor of the application, those that are neutral parties, and those that are opposed. And if we could please keep those comments specific to the land use hearing. Then we'll have questions from the planning commission. Then we'll have the applicant rebuttal. And then we'll have a close of public testimony. And then the commissioners will deliberate and if decided, come to a decision. All speakers must state their name and address for the record. Please direct all comments to the commission and not to members of the audience. Ex parte contact, bias, or conflicts. And ex parte communication occurs when a board member in a quasi-judicial proceeding communicates directly or indirectly with any persons or parties in connection with a matter before the board without notice and opportunity for all parties to participate. Before we begin the hearing, I ask each commissioner, have you had any ex parte contact regarding the application? Do you have any actual or potential conflicts of interest? Are there any site visits to disclose? And if so, please declare so.
I went to high school down here, right across the street from there. I used to go to the mercantile that was right there. I used to put blackberries in the back there. Other than that, it won't affect me at all.
I've eaten food truck there on the property, so I'm somewhat familiar with the property. Not technically as like visit, but I'm familiar with the property.
Thank you for capturing that on the record.
Good food.
There's a reason why. The classes we went to said to say it. So you're
Okay, now to those in attendance, if you wish to challenge the right of any commissioner to participate based on a bias, conflict, or ex parte contact, please state your challenge now. Okay. Any other challenges or comments? All right, let's proceed to the staff report, sir.
Thank you, Chair. So I'm sharing my screen for the benefit of the folks in the room as well as members of the public online. I will go through this in order and provide some detail along the way on what we're looking at and what the applicant is intending to do. So this is a tentative partition plat. For reference, in the state of Oregon, ORS 92 requires that a tentative plat is submitted. And then a final plat is submitted following the work that is said that would go into the initial tentative plat. Most times you'll often see an intended use for the site. That is not the case here. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that means and what the applicant is requesting. The application was filed on October 14th. It was deemed complete on November 13th of this prior year, and today is our initial hearing date. So the purpose of this application is to partition the site located at 555 Depot Street. And the purpose of this hearing is to assess it for compliance with the Monroe Development Code, the applicable Oregon revised statutes, adopted city plans, and the statewide planning goals relevant to partitions. The report here provides findings of fact and conclusions to assist the Planning Commission in determining whether the application meets the applicable approval criteria. So again, the requested action is P 2025-08, a tentative partition approval to partition an existing parcel located at 555 Depot Street into two parcels of approximately 1.37 and 1.12 acres. The application was, of course, deemed complete, and we did go through all of the steps necessary for completeness. And the public notice was sent out to all residents within 250 feet, more than 20 days before the hearing, consistent with the ORS requirements. And also a newspaper notice was published as required. We have several technical documents in the record, including the partition, the application, and also we have comments from the Monroe Rural Fire Protection District's Public Works, Benton County, as well as pieces from the Monroe Development Code, which I'll touch on during my staff report. We'll conduct a quasi-judicial public land use hearing, and testimony, of course, will be received. And of course, we've already talked about the ex parte contact disclosures that we're taking here at the beginning of the meeting. So brief location and contacts within the findings of fact is the subject site is approximately 2.5 acres, located again at 555 Depot Street between 6th and Depot Street with frontage on Highway 99. I've also included the tax lot for the record, and the parcel is currently developed with industrial uses. The zoning is industrial, and the adjacent uses are north and south, as well as east are commercial, west is residential. Regarding natural features, staff reviewed available GIS data and environmental mapping for the subject property. No wetlands or resources are on the site with regard to wetlands or other issues. No waterways or drainage ways. No wetland delineation is required at this time. If previously identified natural features are discovered during the feature development that could come forward, applicable state and local regulations will apply. With regard to infrastructure, the property is located within city limits and is anticipated to be served by municipal water, sewer, and public streets, providing vehicular access is of course there on 99. The conditions of approval will ensure that all utility connections, access improvements, stormwater facilities, and public infrastructure requirements are reviewed and approved by the city engineer of record prior to final plat recording and building permit issuance. I'll touch on the applicable criteria below. There's the Monroe Development Code, Articles 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7. We look at utilities regarding the water systems, sanitary sewer, and stormwater. With regard to the water system, the property, of course, is within the municipal service area. Final verification of water availability, line capacity, and connection design will be required prior to final plat approval to ensure that both resulting parcels will have water availability. The same goes for sanitary sewer. And also both parcels must comply with stormwater and drainage. That management will be addressed through engineered designs consistent with city standards. A final stormwater plan will be reviewed and approved prior to building permit issuance. So if they move forward with development on the site, that is when additional stormwater requirements will be put in place. Looking at the ORS 92010 through 190 regarding subdivision and partitioning, as well as hearing procedures, those are the two relevant ORSs for this. here. And we're also looking at the City of Monroe Transportation System Plan. Because we're on Oregon 99, the proposed partition does not conflict with the city's adopted transportation system plan. Any required frontage or access improvements will be addressed through conditions of approval. And we'll talk about that in a few minutes, of course, because that involves ODOT. And then we have Oregon statewide planning goals. Goal 1, citizen involvement. Goal 9, economic development. Goal 11, public facilities and services, as well as Goal 12, transportation. So looking at the summary of the partition plat itself, we'll talk about the tentative plat. And the proposal is, of course, again, to separate the site into 2 legal lots, each capable of future development consistent with city standards. No new construction is requested or authorized by this decision. The decision criteria are such that the following findings address the applicable criteria for the tentative partition approval under the MDC, under the development code. So I touch on several decision criteria, which I'll talk about here. There's MDC 2.3281, where any undeveloped portion of the proposed land division can be developed in accordance with city ordinances. The finding is that the undeveloped portions of the proposed land division can be developed in accordance with city ordinance. So that criterion is met. Criteria 2, MDC 2.328, the proposed development and all adjoining land can be developed in accordance with this code and city ordinances. The proposed development and adjoining land can be developed in accordance with city ordinances, and that criterion is satisfied. Number 3, MDC 2.3283, the proposed street plan is in conformance with city standards and provided the most economic, safe, and efficient circulation of traffic in relation to the existing city street system and future plans. The finding is the proposal includes no new street configuration and is consistent with the city standards and future plans. That criterion is met. Number 4, MDC 2.3284. The proposed utility connections are available, adequate, and provide the most efficient and convenient connections to the existing utility system. And the proposed utilities can be extended in the future to accommodate future growth beyond the proposed land division. The finding is that the utilities are available and can be extended to serve future developments. Criterion is met. Criterion 5, MDC 2.3285. Special site features have been considered and utilized. There are no special site features that preclude partitioning, and that is satisfied. Number 6, MDC 2.3286. Drainage ways are protected and required drainage facilities are provided in conformance with state erosion control regulations. Drainage facilities can be provided in compliance with regulations. It's also important to note that we have some existing use on the site with truck parking, and there are some concerns with that we'll work with the applicants and the site owner on regarding our TMDL issues and some of the protections for drainage facilities. But we'll touch on that later. That's just adjacent to this. Criteria 7, MDC 2.3287. The extent of possible emission or nuisance characteristics are compatible with land use zoning district and industrial, adjacent properties, and the applicable standards of all regulatory agencies having jurisdiction. No incompatible nuisance characteristics are anticipated. And again, we don't have a new or change of use or really a use at all for either one of these parcels. It's just a separation, which is atypical. Most partitions come along with what the use is going to be. So at this point in time, there's no incompatible nuisance characteristics that could possibly change with development in the future. We address all of those things through the building permit process.
Is this a time to discuss these or just
I capture your notes, and then when I'm done, what we're gonna do is give the applicant the opportunity to respond. And then we'll have questions for the applicants as well as.
wait until
Fred's got our chair has the,
bookmark?
Yeah, we're gonna have an
Bookmark.
opportunity, we're gonna have an opportunity to discuss it.
criteria 8, NDC 2.3288. Potential adverse impacts have been mitigated to the maximum extent possible. Potential impacts can be mitigated through conditions. Currently, again, there's no development proposal, so this criterion is satisfied at present with conditions. So I will briefly run through the recommended conditions of approval, and that will conclude my staff report. So the recommended conditions of approval for this body are the partitions shall be developed in substantial conformance with the tentative partition plat and application materials approved by the planning commission. Number two, approval of this partition does not relieve the applicant of the responsibility to comply with all applicable City of Monroe ordinances, policies, engineering standards, and applicable state and federal regulation. Number three, approval of the tentative partition authorizes land division only. No building permits, site development, or changes in use are authorized by this decision. Number four, prior to recording, the applicant shall submit a final partition plat prepared by a licensed Oregon professional land surveyor in compliance with ORS 92 and the Monroe Development Code requirements. Number five, the final partition plat shall clearly show all property boundaries and dimensions, identify all existing structures and their locations relative to property lines, show all easements, rights of way, and access provisions surveying the parcels, and demonstrate compliance with minimum lot size, frontage, and setback requirements. The final partition plat shall include all necessary access easements, utility easements, and rights of way required to ensure each lot is a legal buildable parcel. Any required easements shall be reviewed and approved by the city prior to plat recording. Number seven, the final partition plat shall be recorded with Benton County after approval by the City of Monroe. Number eight, the applicant shall record the approved plat at the county recorder's office and provide a copy of the plat to the city recorder. And prior to final partition plat approval or issuance of any building permit, the land divider shall demonstrate to the satisfaction of the city engineer of record that municipal water is available to serve each resulting lot. If water line extensions, upgrades, or system improvements are required to serve the proposed lots or future development, they shall be designed and constructed in accordance with city standards and approved by the city engineer of record. Prior to final partition plat approval or issuance of any building permit, the applicant shall demonstrate that municipal sanitary sewer service is available and adequate to serve each resulting lot. Any required sewer line extension or upgrade shall be designed and constructed in accordance with city standards and approved by the city engineer of record. The property owner shall be responsible for providing proper stormwater management and protecting drainage facilities from disruption or contamination in accordance with MVC section 5.126. A detailed stormwater management plan shall be submitted for review and approval by the city engineer of record prior to issuance of any building permits. Any required street frontage, access improvements, or right-of-way dedications shall be reviewed and approved by the Oregon Department of Transportation and reviewed by the city engineer of record prior to final plat approval or building